The Great Sphinx of Giza, a colossal figure with a lion's body and a human head, stands as a potent symbol of ancient Egypt, a silent sentinel guarding the pyramids and the secrets of a bygone era. Its enigmatic presence has fueled countless theories and speculations about its origins and purpose. Recently, a flurry of media attention surrounded a New York University NYU study, with headlines proclaiming a new origin story for the Sphinx, that it was primarily shaped by wind erosion, before any human intervention. This narrative, while seemingly intriguing, crumbles under the weight of established archaeological and geological evidence, offering a misleadingly simplistic explanation for a monument born of complex human planning and execution.
The NYU researchers, led by Leif Ristroff, conducted a laboratory experiment aimed at exploring the potential of wind erosion to sculpt rock formations into recognizable shapes. Specifically, they investigated whether a naturally occurring, roughly conical mound of material with a harder inclusion, representing the head, could be eroded by a consistent, unidirectional flow of water, simulating wind, into a form resembling a seated lion. Their model used a mound of bentonite clay, a material known for its susceptibility to erosion, with a short cylindrical piece of plastic embedded near the top to represent the harder rock that makes up the Sphinx's head. This model was placed in a water tunnel, and the flow was carefully controlled to come from a single direction, mimicking a constant wind. Over time, the water eroded the clay, creating a neck-like structure below the head and rudimentary pores at the base. The researchers documented this process using streak-like imaging, showcasing how the flow sculpted the clay. The experiment did demonstrate that, under these highly specific and controlled conditions, a vaguely leonine shape could emerge. This led the researchers to suggest that a similar process might have occurred at Giza, with natural wind erosion creating a proto-sphinx that later inspired and guided the final carving by ancient Egyptians. While the NYU experiment is scientifically valid within its own parameters, its applicability to the actual Great Sphinx is severely limited, and indeed, fundamentally flawed. The experiment's assumptions clash dramatically with the well-established historical and geological realities of the Giza Plateau, realities meticulously documented over centuries of archaeological and geological investigation. The most glaring discrepancy lies in the very foundation of the Sphinx. The NYU model presupposes a freestanding mound, exposed to wind from all sides. The Great Sphinx, however, sits within a deeply quarried hollow, carved down into the bedrock of the Giza Plateau. This is not a minor detail. It is the defining characteristic of the monument's creation. The Sphinx's pores, which emerged naturally in the experiment, were in reality painstakingly excavated by human hands, a testament to the immense labor and planning involved in the project. This practice of quarrying massive amounts of stone is a hallmark of Old Kingdom Egyptian construction, evident in the pyramids, the valley temples, and countless other monuments. The very act of creating the Sphinx enclosure removed any pre-existing natural formation that might have vaguely resembled a lion. The NYU experiment relies on a crucial and ultimately incorrect assumption: a constant, unidirectional wind. The winds at Giza, both today and in antiquity, are far more complex and variable. Meteorological records, as well as historical accounts of sandstorms and wind patterns, demonstrate that Giza experiences winds from multiple directions, subject to seasonal shifts and unpredictable gusts. This variability would have prevented the formation of the precisely oriented, symmetrical erosion patterns observed in the controlled environment of the water tunnel. The assumption of a single prevailing wind simply does not hold up to scrutiny. The Sphinx's weathering is a far more intricate story than simply wind erosion. Its geological history, spanning millions of years, involves a complex interplay of forces, each leaving its mark on the monument. Tectonic activity. The Giza Plateau is not geologically static. Tectonic shifts and fault lines have created significant cracks and fissures within the Sphinx, features entirely absent from the smooth, homogeneous clay of the NYU model. These cracks, documented by geologists like Colin Reeder, significantly influence weathering patterns. Groundwater intrusion and salt exfoliation. The lower portions of the Sphinx, closer to the ancient water table, have been subjected to groundwater wicking. This process draws water up through the porous limestone, carrying dissolved salts. As the water evaporates, the salts crystallize, exerting pressure on the rock and causing it to flake and crumble, a process known as salt exfoliation. This is a major factor in the Sphinx's deterioration, particularly evident in the lower body and pores. Rainfall and runoff. Although rainfall is relatively infrequent in the Giza Desert today, historical records and geological evidence suggest that periods of more intense rainfall occurred in the past. These events would have contributed to erosion through surface runoff, carving channels, and further shaping the monument in ways not accounted for in the unidirectional flow of the experiment. The makeup of the rock. The experiment failed to account for the different rock hardness that is present at Giza. The bottom and top are harder, while the middle is a softer rock. The NYU experiment fundamentally misrepresents the geology of the Sphinx. It depicts the head as a single, isolated, harder inclusion embedded within a softer surrounding material. In reality, the hard, resistant limestone that forms the Sphinx's head is part of a continuous stratum that extends across the entire Giza plateau. This same layer was extensively quarried by the ancient Egyptians to provide the massive blocks used to construct the Great Pyramid, a testament to its durability and extent. Geological surveys, core samples, and the visible evidence of quarrying all confirm this. The Sphinx was carved down into this pre-existing layered geological formation, a crucial fact that invalidates the experiment's basic premise. Wind-sculpted rock formations, known as yardangs, are a real geological phenomenon. In arid environments with consistent unidirectional winds and specific rock compositions, they can sometimes resemble animals or other recognizable shapes. However, the specific conditions required for the formation of a yardang resembling the NYU model's outcome, a small, isolated, hard inclusion within a much larger mass of softer, easily erodible material, coupled with unwavering unidirectional wind, are not representative of the Giza Plateau's complex geological history and variable wind patterns. While a yardang might have existed in the general area before the Sphinx enclosure was quarried, it could not have resembled the final form of the Sphinx, and crucially, it would have been removed during the quarrying process. The NYU research, while scientifically sound within its own limited scope, offers no credible explanation for the origin of the Great Sphinx of Giza. The overwhelming weight of archaeological and geological evidence, accumulated over centuries of study, points unequivocally to the Sphinx as a monument deliberately conceived, planned, and meticulously carved by ancient Egyptian artisans. The quarrying marks, the alignment with other Old Kingdom structures, the geological layering, and the complex history of weathering all contradict the simplistic wind-made narrative. For centuries, the Great Sphinx of Giza has stood as a silent guardian of Egypt's Giza Plateau, watching over the pyramids and the Nile. Its lion's body and human head have inspired myths, legends, and scholarly debate. But beneath its imposing form lies a deeper enigma. What secrets does the Sphinx hold? And who were the architects behind its creation? The rediscovery of the Sphinx happened long after its original construction. For much of its history, it was almost entirely buried under sand, with only its head visible. In 1817, Italian explorer Captain Giovanni Battista Caviglia led an early excavation, clearing some of the sand to reveal more of the body. Yet, there were no signs of entrances or hidden chambers. The major breakthrough came in the 1920s and 1930s, when French Egyptologist Émile Barrès conducted a more systematic excavation, fully exposing the Sphinx's body. Evidence of subterranean passages led to speculation about what lay beneath this ancient monument. Could this be the legendary Hall of Records, a hidden repository of ancient knowledge? In the 1970s and 1980s, modern technology like ground-penetrating radar and seismographs was used by archaeologists such as Dr. Mark Lehner and John Anthony West. Their findings revealed anomalies, hollow spaces beneath the Sphinx, raising new questions. What were these voids for? Were they ritual chambers, tombs, or something more? These discoveries have sparked the imagination of both scholars and the public. Many speculate about ancient knowledge hidden within these tunnels and chambers which remain largely unexplored. The idea of the Hall of Records, a fabled repository of wisdom from a pre-dynastic civilization, persists, though no solid evidence has confirmed its existence. As for the dimensions of these hidden spaces, some tunnels extend nearly 30 meters, with chambers reaching heights of 5 meters. The complexity and scale of these cavities astonish researchers, as their construction would have required precise engineering to avoid damaging the Sphinx above. Could a civilization over 4,000 years ago really have achieved this with primitive tools? One particularly mysterious feature is a metal hatch discovered on the Sphinx's head during a 20th century restoration. While some believe it's a modern addition for maintenance, others suggest more fantastical possibilities. Was this hatch a secret entry to hidden chambers? Could it be a relic of a lost technology designed by the builders for some unknown purpose? The question remains, who built the Sphinx, and how did they achieve such a perfect blend of form and function? The Sphinx is an impressive 240 feet long, 66 feet high, and 62 feet wide. Carved from a single mass of limestone bedrock, its weight is estimated at 200 tons. Its dimensions are comparable to a modern football field, and its height rivals a 6-story building. Given the rudimentary copper tools available to the ancient Egyptians, this achievement seems almost impossible. While scholars attribute the construction of the Sphinx to Pharaoh Khafre around 2500 BCE, some researchers believe it may be much older. Evidence of water erosion suggests the Sphinx may have been exposed to heavy rainfall centuries ago, dating it to as early as 10,000 BCE. This theory challenges conventional timelines, suggesting the Sphinx was built by an even older, lost civilization. Could the Sphinx have been constructed by a forgotten culture, equipped with knowledge and technology far beyond what we attribute to the Egyptians? The discovery of hidden chambers beneath the monument only adds to this speculation. Were these spaces used to store ancient texts, or perhaps to honor deities through ritualistic practices? Yet, as we uncover more about the Sphinx, the techniques used to build it remain just as mysterious. How did these ancient builders move and shape the enormous stone blocks? Theories abound about the construction methods. It is believed that tens of thousands of laborers worked together, using wooden sledges and water-lubricated sand to transport massive stones across the desert. While modern experiments have shown this method is possible, some argue that a lost technology or unknown knowledge must have been involved. More speculative theories propose that the builders might have used advanced tools or sound resonance to manipulate the stone. The deeper we dig into the mysteries of the Sphinx, the more questions we uncover. But one thing is certain. As we continue to explore the hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx, the story of its creation grows ever more fascinating. History, it seems, is never truly set in stone. New discoveries and secrets lie waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not what the Sphinx reveals, but what it continues to keep hidden. In the shadow of the Sphinx, we are left wondering, who built this ancient monument and why? How did they achieve such precision, and what was the true purpose of the Sphinx and its surrounding megastructures? The most common theory is that the Sphinx was commissioned by Pharaoh Khafre, who also built the second largest pyramid on the Giza plateau. But some evidence calls this theory into question. Water erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body suggest it could be far older, possibly dating back to 10,000 BCE, when Egypt experienced heavier rainfall. If this is true, it would mean the Sphinx predates the Egyptian civilization by thousands of years, suggesting the existence of a forgotten culture. Could this lost civilization have been responsible for building the Sphinx? And if so, why are there no other traces of their presence? These questions fuel conspiracy theories that continue to captivate the imagination. One theory proposes that the Sphinx was built not as a tomb, but as an astronomical observatory. Its alignment with the constellation Leo during the vernal equinox suggests a connection to the stars, possibly serving as a marker of time or even a communication device with other worlds. Another theory suggests that the Sphinx and pyramids were part of an ancient energy system. Some believe the pyramids were energy generators, with the Sphinx acting as a control mechanism. The alignment of these structures with the Earth's magnetic field, combined with their proximity to the Nile, supports this idea. Though no concrete evidence backs this claim, it remains a compelling alternative explanation for their purpose. But the mysteries don't stop there. What other secrets might be hidden beneath the Sphinx? Beneath the Sphinx, unexplored chambers continue to spark speculation. Could these be the fabled Hall of Records? According to legend, this hidden vault contains the lost wisdom of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis. Though no one has conclusively discovered it, the search for the Hall of Records continues to intrigue explorers. And then, there are those who believe the Sphinx's builders had help from beyond this world. Extraterrestrial theories surrounding the Sphinx have persisted for decades. Some claim that the precision and scale of its construction are too advanced for the period, suggesting ancient Egyptians had assistance from extraterrestrial visitors. While this remains in the realm of science fiction, it highlights the fascination the Sphinx holds over the human imagination. Yet, even without the intervention of alien hands, the Sphinx and its surrounding pyramids are marvels of engineering. As we stand before the Sphinx, we are left with more questions than answers. What was its true purpose? Who were its builders? And why does it continue to mystify us after thousands of years? And so, the Great Sphinx of Giza remains, watching over the desert, guarding secrets that may never be fully understood. What lies beneath its pores, in hidden chambers, or in the past still waiting to be uncovered? Only time, and perhaps future discoveries, will reveal the answers. Until then, the Sphinx will keep its secrets, waiting patiently for the day when we are ready to understand what it truly has to tell us.
This subterranean marvel, with its intricate architecture and profound symbols, offers glimpses into ancient Egyptian religious and ceremonial practices. The mysteries of the Osiris shaft invite us to explore its true purpose and the advanced knowledge behind its construction. Known since the late 19th century, the Osiris shaft initially did not attract much attention from early explorers and Egyptologists, who focused more on the prominent features like the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx. As a less conspicuous feature, it remained largely unexplored until the late 20th century, when systematic exploration began.
So we do know the Sphinx does have hollow areas. It's just the government doesn't want to admit that that's the case.
The turning point came with the work led by the renowned Egyptologist Zahi Hawass in the 1990s. Under his direction, comprehensive exploration of the shaft was undertaken, which unveiled its complex architecture and potential significance in understanding Egyptian religious practices.
The Sphinx is hidden underneath the Sphinx. So can you give us permission to drill?
The exploration of the Osiris shaft involved the challenging task of removing water that had accumulated in the lower levels, especially the third level, which was partially submerged.
That the water began to rise in front of the Sphinx temple outside.
Modern pumping equipment was employed to drain the water, allowing archaeologists access to the shaft's deepest parts. The detailed examination of the shaft's architecture revealed the engineering skills of ancient Egyptians. It consists of 3 levels, each serving a different purpose, with the lowest level housing a large stone sarcophagus in a chamber filled with water, suggesting a symbolic representation of the underworld. The second level contained 6 burial shafts, though they were found empty, leading to speculation about their original use. This finding was significant in understanding burial practices and the possible ceremonial use of the shaft. Although largely devoid of inscriptions that could provide direct information about its creators or construction dates, the excavation unearthed several artifacts, including pottery shards and fragments of stone vessels, offering some clues about the shaft's age and use. Dating the Osiris shaft has been challenging due to the lack of inscriptions and the mixed nature of the artifacts found within. However, based on the style of pottery and other items, as well as architectural features, Archaeologists suggest that the shaft might date from the New Kingdom period, with some elements possibly being older or reused from earlier periods. The Osiris shaft, a mysterious and elaborate underground complex, has sparked intense scholarly debate and speculation due to its unique architectural features and symbolic elements.
It's a subterranean complex, so it's a very complicated, incredibly enigmatic place.
Scholars and archaeologists have proposed various theories about its purpose, drawing on evidence from Egyptian mythology, religious practices, and archaeological findings. These theories primarily revolve around the shaft's connection to the cult of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, death, and rebirth, and its potential use in ancient ceremonial practices. Osiris, one of the most important gods in the ancient Egyptian pantheon, symbolizes the cycle of death and rebirth. The water-filled chamber at the bottom of the Osiris shaft is believed to symbolize the underworld, or the primordial waters of Nun, from which all life emerged according to Egyptian cosmology. This chamber, especially with its central stone sarcophagus, could represent the tomb of Osiris and the place of his resurrection. The presence of a large stone-carved sarcophagus in the deepest chamber is seen as a direct reference to Osiris's burial. Although empty, this sarcophagus serves as a powerful symbol of Osiris's death and his role in the afterlife, potentially used in rituals emulating his resurrection. One prevalent theory is that the Osiris shaft was used for initiation rites into the mysteries of Osiris. These rites would have been designed to impart secret knowledge and spiritual rebirth to initiates, mirroring the death and resurrection of Osiris. The descent through the shaft's levels could symbolize the initiate's journey through death to enlightenment and rebirth, with each level representing a stage of spiritual transformation. The shaft may have also been used for rituals celebrating the cyclical nature of life and death, reflecting the agricultural significance of the Nile's flooding and the seasonal growth cycles associated with Osiris. Such rituals could involve the symbolic planting of seeds, water libations, and recitations of hymns and prayers, aiming to ensure the regeneration of life and the fertility of the land. Another speculation ties the Osiris shaft to ancient Egyptian astronomy, particularly the belief in the stars as the destination of the soul in the afterlife. The orientation and structure of the shaft might have had astronomical significance, aligning with specific stars or constellations believed to be associated with Osiris and the afterlife. While direct archaeological evidence supporting these theories is limited, the design of the Osiris shaft and the artifacts found within it offer indirect clues. The careful construction of the shaft, the choice of its location near the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, and the selection of objects placed in the smaller chambers suggest a deliberate attempt to create a sacred space imbued with religious and symbolic meanings. Textual evidence from ancient Egyptian religious texts, such as the Pyramid texts and the Book of the Dead, which contain references to the afterlife and the journey of the soul, provides a contextual backdrop for interpreting the Osiris shaft. These texts describe the landscape of the afterlife, including the presence of water, boats, and the significance of the sarcophagus, all of which find echoes in the physical structure of the Osiris shaft. The Osiris shaft showcases the architectural ingenuity of ancient Egyptian civilization, constructed deep within the limestone bedrock and organized into 3 distinct levels connected by vertical shafts. This site blends the practical with the mystical. Let's explore the architecture and structure of the Osiris shaft, examining each level's design, construction, and potential significance. The engineering and architectural design of the Osiris shaft demonstrate advanced planning and knowledge of subterranean construction techniques. The entrance is a rectangular opening, a deliberate design choice marking the beginning of a descent into the earth.
That's the access to the underground area of the Sphinx. The government put it there on purpose.
This opening leads directly to a vertical shaft carved straight down into the limestone, requiring precise control to maintain the shaft's integrity and direction. The shaft descends approximately 10 meters to the first level. The construction of this shaft involved removing tons of limestone using tools made from harder stones, copper, and possibly bronze, as well as ropes and wooden scaffolding for debris removal. The initial chamber at this level is relatively modest in size and devoid of elaborate decorations or significant artifacts. Its simplicity suggests it may have served as an antechamber or a preparatory space for deeper levels, possibly intended for purification or other preliminary rites. A second vertical shaft leads from the first level down an additional 20 meters, indicating a continuation of the journey into the depths. This shaft's construction would have been even more challenging due to the depth and the need to ensure ventilation and structural stability. This more extensive chamber houses 6 burial shafts, which were found empty, hinting at possible looting or a symbolic use. The creation of these shafts within the chamber's floor showcases a complex understanding of space utilization and the cultural importance of burial practices. The empty burial shafts might have been intended for actual interments or served a ceremonial purpose, perhaps symbolizing the passage to the afterlife. Their presence speaks to the shaft's potential role in funerary rites or as a cenotaph. The third and deepest level is accessed via another shaft from the second level, descending around 30 meters below the surface. This final descent marks the culmination of the journey into the underworld, mirroring the mythological descent of Osiris. Dominated by a large stone sarcophagus, this chamber is a dramatic representation of the tomb of Osiris. The partial filling of this chamber with water from the natural aquifer links the Osiris shaft to the mythological themes of rebirth and purification. Water, a symbol of life and regeneration, would have held profound religious significance, enhancing the chamber's sanctity as a representation of Osiris's tomb. Surrounding the central sarcophagus are smaller chambers that contained mummified remains and artifacts. Graham Hancock, a British author known for his unconventional theories about ancient civilizations, has posited several intriguing ideas regarding the Osiris shaft and the broader context of ancient Egyptian monuments.
Is there not a hidden chamber as well?
In fact, there is a whole underworld at Giza. This is beginning to be recognized.
Hancock's work, which spans several books including Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods, often challenges the orthodox archaeological understanding of history. His theories, while controversial among mainstream scholars, have sparked considerable interest and debate among the public and alternative researchers.
I think there's a lot more remains to be discovered under the Giza Plateau.
Yeah.
A central theme in his work is the hypothesis of a lost advanced civilization that predates known history. He suggests that this civilization possessed sophisticated knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and mathematics, which was passed down to later cultures, including the ancient Egyptians.
But remember that the ancient Egyptians tell us in many of their texts that everything they knew was a legacy.
He suggests these events led to significant rises in sea levels and could have been responsible for the demise of the advanced civilization he hypothesizes. The Osiris shaft's lower levels being filled with water could be interpreted within Hancock's framework as symbolic or actual evidence of these cataclysmic events. He might view the water in the shaft as a deliberate reference to the ancient floods and the civilization's knowledge of these cataclysmic events.
Ancient artworks from the New Kingdom show the Sphinx wearing a tall crown. And if such a crown existed, the hole in its head may have been cut to anchor it in place. Whatever its original purpose, that opening was sealed nearly a century ago when French engineer Émile Barrès reinforced the Sphinx and bolted an iron trapdoor over the cavity in 1926. For decades since, this secret door has remained off-limits, until now. As the heavy iron lid is pried open, a musty gust of air escapes from the darkness within. Peering down, the archaeologists see a narrow vertical shaft dropping about 6 feet into the Sphinx's head. The walls of this hidden space are straight and squared, clearly shaped by human hands, while the floor is rough natural rock, sitting a few feet above the outside ground level. In the beam of a flashlight, they notice a thin crevice snaking even deeper down from the bottom of the pit, a tantalizing passage into the unknown. The team exchanges excited glances. They are peering into a part of the Sphinx unseen by any living person for generations. Carefully, one explorer lowers a small camera into the shaft, its cable trembling slightly as it descends. The video feed reveals more details of the chamber's interior. Every surface is coated in centuries of dust, but faint chisel marks are visible, evidence of the labor that carved this secret hollow long ago. There are no gleaming treasures or ancient scrolls here, only stone and silence. Yet, even the bare walls speak volumes. It's possible the Great Sphinx wasn't always the uniform sandy hue we see today. Archaeologists have found traces of red paint on the Sphinx's face and hints of blue and yellow on its body, indicating this giant statue was once vividly painted in garish colors. Perhaps, protected from the elements, a tiny remnant of that ancient paint still clings inside this shaft. It's a quiet reminder of the Sphinx's former glory, a time when it gazed out over the desert in full color under the Egyptian sun. Having opened the hatch and documented the chamber, the researchers carefully descend from the Sphinx's head, exhilarated by their find. What they discovered is not a hidden treasure chamber, but something perhaps more profound, a direct insight into the Sphinx's construction and the efforts of those who have guarded it through the ages. The precisely carved walls of the shaft suggest that ancient builders, or perhaps later restorers, intentionally made this opening. Was it simply to anchor a piece of the Sphinx's headdress, or could it have been the beginning of a passage intended to probe deeper into the massive stone body? For now, the Sphinx isn't giving up that secret. The narrow crack at the bottom of the shaft remains unexplored, beckoning future investigation. Still, the very act of entering this legendary monument has made history. After generations of speculation, experts have finally set foot and camera inside the Sphinx, turning a new page in the story of this mysterious colossus. One reason for such caution is that the Great Sphinx, for all its fame, remains an enigma in many ways. Astonishingly, not a single written record from the time of its construction has been found to tell us the statue's original name or purpose. Egyptologists generally believe it was commissioned by Pharaoh Khafra around 2500 BC as part of his pyramid complex. Yet, no inscriptions definitively link Khafra to the Sphinx's creation. This ambiguity has given rise to alternative theories about the monument's origin. Perhaps the most provocative idea comes from geological studies of the Sphinx's body. The statue's flanks and the walls of its enclosure show erosional patterns that some geologists argue could only have been caused by prolonged heavy rainfall, not the kind of weather Egypt has seen in the last 4,500 years. According to this controversial hypothesis, the Sphinx might be far older than commonly thought, potentially dating back to the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 BC. Such a time frame would vastly predate the pyramids and pharaonic civilization, hinting at a lost chapter of history. Having opened the hatch and documented the chamber, the researchers descend from the Sphinx's head, exhilarated. What they found wasn't treasure, but something more profound: insight into the Sphinx's construction. The carefully carved shaft walls suggest ancient builders, or later restorers, intentionally made the opening. Was it to anchor part of the headdress, or the start of a deeper passage? For now, the Sphinx keeps its secrets. As the sun climbs higher over Giza, the archaeologists secure the hatch once more, knowing they have touched a fragment of history. The Sphinx, with its impassive gaze and battered face, resumes its silent vigil over the desert, now with one less secret hidden inside. Yet in solving this small puzzle, the team has opened a door to even deeper questions. What other long-buried secrets lie beneath the sands of Egypt? The next discovery could be just around the corner. In fact, experts have recently stumbled upon a baffling artifact that may be older than the Sphinx itself, an object so mysterious that it defies all known logic. But that is a story for another day, one that will carry us even further into the thrilling depths of history.
The Giza Plateau, a landscape dominated by the majestic pyramids and the enigmatic Great Sphinx, stands as a testament to the power and ingenuity of the 4th dynasty of Egypt's Old Kingdom, 26,013 BCE to 24,094 BCE. These iconic monuments, particularly the Great Pyramid of Khufu, have captivated the world for millennia, solidifying Giza's place as a cornerstone of ancient Egyptian civilization. However, beneath the shadow of these colossal structures lies a hidden history, a past that predates the pharaohs of the 4th dynasty, possibly by centuries, if not millennia. Recent research and a renewed focus on past excavations are beginning to peel back the layers of time, revealing a far more complex and ancient narrative for Giza, one that may necessitate a rewriting of its very origins. At the heart of this historical reassessment is a seemingly insignificant site, the Kromer Dump, an ancient disposal site that could potentially hold the key to unlocking Giza's pre-dynastic secrets. Located to the south of the Giza Pyramid complex, the Kromer Dump is a crescent-shaped accumulation of ancient debris, a seemingly mundane collection of discarded materials. First excavated in the 1970s by the Austrian archaeologist Karl Kromer and later re-examined in 2018 by the Ancient Egypt Research Associates under the direction of Dr. Mark Lehner, the dump has been traditionally viewed through the lens of the 4th dynasty. The AERA's 2018 findings, for instance, led them to characterize it as a 4th dynasty demolition and trash heap, with materials consistent with a demolished royal rest house or small palace dating back to the reign of Khafre, builder of the second pyramid. This interpretation aligns with the prevailing understanding of Giza as a necropolis primarily developed during the 4th dynasty. However, Kromer's original findings, meticulously detailed in his extensive 1978 publication, Settlement Finds from the Early Old Kingdom in Giza, Austrian Excavations 1971 to 1975, paint a far more nuanced and intriguing picture. While acknowledging the undeniable presence of 4th dynasty materials, Kromer also identified a significant number of artifacts that he dated to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd dynasties of the early dynastic period. Even more provocatively, he believed some artifacts even hinted at pre-dynastic activity on the plateau, predating the unification of Egypt under Narmer, also known as Menes. This raises a fundamental question that challenges the conventional narrative. Was the Kromer Dump merely a convenient disposal site for the 4th dynasty builders? Or was it a repository for materials from a much older settlement, a vibrant community that thrived on the Giza Plateau long before the pyramids were conceived? In his 1972 preliminary report, Kromer put forward a bold and, at the time, radical hypothesis. Based on his initial findings, he proposed that an extensive settlement existed on the site of the Giza Plateau, flourishing from the 1st dynasty through to the 3rd dynasty. He postulated that at the beginning of the 4th dynasty, this settlement was deliberately demolished to make way for the construction of the royal necropolis, a grand project that would forever transform the landscape. This interpretation directly challenges the long-held view of Giza as a relatively vacant landscape before the 4th dynasty, suggesting instead that it was a site of significant human activity for centuries prior. If Kromer's hypothesis is correct, it would necessitate a fundamental reassessment of Giza's early history and the motivations behind the choice of this location for the royal cemetery. Kromer's claims were not based on mere speculation, but on a careful analysis of the artifacts unearthed from the dump. Let's delve deeper into the key pieces of evidence that support his hypothesis. Pottery, a ubiquitous find in archaeological contexts, often serves as a crucial indicator of chronology and cultural affiliation. Kromer identified numerous pottery shards within the dump that exhibited decorative scratch marks, reminiscent of styles associated with both the pre-dynastic Naqada II culture, 3,500 to 3,200 BCE, and the early dynastic cultures of Lower Egypt. The presence of these distinct pottery styles suggests that the Giza settlement may have had connections to, or was even inhabited by people from these earlier periods. Perhaps the most compelling and chronologically significant evidence comes from the clay ceilings found within the dump. Clay ceilings were used in ancient Egypt to secure containers, doors, and documents, often bearing impressions of cylinder seals or stamps that identified the owner, official, or institution responsible. Kromer discovered several clay ceilings depicting animal figures, hieroglyphic symbols, and geometric patterns. Based on stylistic comparisons with ceilings from other sites, he confidently dated a number of these ceilings to the Thinite period, a term used to describe the early dynastic period, dynasties 1 and 2, when the city of Thinis, near Abydos, served as the capital. In addition to pottery and ceilings, Kromer also uncovered a variety of stone tools, including fishing hooks, blades, and triangular scrapers. While these types of tools are not always definitively datable, as their forms can persist for long periods, their presence is consistent with pre-dynastic and early dynastic technologies. Their context within the dump, alongside the pottery and ceilings, strengthens the possibility of their earlier origins. Furthermore, the discovery of faience tiles within the dump adds another layer to the argument. Faience, a glazed ceramic material, was often used in royal and elite contexts. Kromer noted the similarity of these tiles to those found in the southern tomb of Djoser, the first pyramid builder of the Third Dynasty, located at Saqqara. This similarity suggests that structures of some significance, possibly even royal or administrative buildings, may have existed at Giza prior to the Fourth Dynasty. One of the most intriguing and debated finds from the Kromer Dump is a small 3.6 centimeter long mud statuette of a sphinx. Unearthed in Trench F, alongside the crucial early dynastic clay ceilings, this object, according to Kromer, could potentially be the oldest sphinx statuette ever discovered in Egypt. However, it deviates significantly from the standard iconography of later sphinx representations, sparking considerable debate about its date and meaning. The statuette's most striking feature is its lack of the iconic pharaonic Nemes headdress, the striped headcloth worn by royalty. Instead, it sports a meticulously detailed hairstyle with individual curls arranged in concentric circles. This unusual feature immediately sets it apart from the vast majority of known Sphinx statues, which almost invariably depict the royal headdress. Kromer, who firmly believed that the Great Sphinx of Giza was a creation of Khafre, tentatively dated the statuette to the same Fourth Dynasty reign. However, he acknowledged the stylistic peculiarities. The absence of the royal headdress, the crudeness of the carving, although the hair is remarkably detailed, and the unusual posture of the lion's body all raise questions about this attribution. The presence of pre-dynastic pottery at various locations on the Giza Plateau provides a crucial link to the earlier cultures that inhabited the region before the rise of the unified Egyptian state. The Ma'adi culture, a significant pre-dynastic culture that flourished in Lower Egypt from around 4000 to 3200 BCE, is of particular interest. Archaeological evidence, primarily in the form of pottery, confirms that the Ma'adi people had a presence at Giza. While the extent and nature of their occupation remain largely unknown, the Kromer Dump, with its potentially pre-dynastic artifacts, offers a tantalizing glimpse into this earlier period. It raises the possibility that Giza was not merely a vacant landscape chosen for its strategic location by the Fourth Dynasty kings, but rather a site with a long and complex history, a place that may have held significance for the Ma'adi people and their predecessors.
Did you know about the mysterious Osiris shaft hidden within the Giza Plateau? This fascinating archaeological site, often overshadowed by the grandeur of the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, harbors secrets of ancient Egyptian civilization. Though known since the late 19th century, it remained largely ignored as explorers focused on more prominent monuments. But the Osiris shaft has its own story, one that has gradually unfolded over time. It wasn't until the 1990s that the Osiris shaft began to receive the attention it deserved, thanks to the efforts of Zahi Hawass, a name familiar to many.
He's documented the fact that Zahi's been enabling kind of secret expeditions digging and drilling around the Sphinx since the 1970s.
Under his direction, a thorough exploration was undertaken, revealing the shaft's complex architecture and its connection to ancient Egyptian religious thought. However, accessing the deepest parts of the Osiris shaft wasn't easy. The team had to overcome the significant challenge of draining the water that had flooded its lower levels, particularly the third level, which was partially submerged.
The same story of a great flood, which brought a former age of the world to an end.
The effort required to bring in modern equipment and remove the water was immense, but it was crucial to unveiling the shaft's hidden secrets. The Osiris shaft, with its 3 levels descending deep into the earth, turned out to be a remarkable puzzle of architecture, burial customs, and hidden treasures. The design itself is a marvel of ancient engineering, with each level serving a unique purpose. At the bottom, a large stone sarcophagus rests in a chamber partially filled with water, evoking the ancient Egyptian underworld. It's as if the Egyptians constructed their version of the afterlife deep within the Giza plateau. The second level, with its 6 empty burial shafts, adds to the mystery. Were they looted, or were they never intended to hold anything? This level offers insights into burial practices and rituals, though some aspects remain unclear. Despite the absence of inscriptions that could pinpoint who built the shaft and when, the artifacts discovered within, pottery shards, fragments of stone vessels, and other small items, suggest the Osiris shaft dates back to the New Kingdom period. These artifacts provide valuable clues, helping researchers piece together the history of this incredible structure. One of the most poignant discoveries was the mummified remains found in the smaller chambers surrounding the central sarcophagus. These remains offer a rare glimpse into the lives of ancient Egyptians, revealing details about their diets, lifestyles, and perhaps even their deaths. Let's take a moment to talk about Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of the afterlife, death, and rebirth. According to mythology, Osiris was betrayed by his brother Set, leading to a story of death, dismemberment, and resurrection that reads like an ancient epic. His wife, Isis, reassembled him and brought him back to life, making Osiris a symbol of the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The Osiris shaft is thought to be a 3-dimensional tribute to this epic tale.
But over here we have the god Osiris from Egypt, remembered by the ancient Egyptians as a bringer of the gifts of civilization.
At the shaft's deepest point, there's a chamber filled with water, believed to represent the underworld. Standing before the large stone sarcophagus, which symbolizes Osiris's tomb, one can almost feel the connection to his journey through death and his role as ruler of the afterlife. But why was such a place built? One theory is that the Osiris shaft served as a site for initiation rites, a kind of spiritual boot camp where participants underwent trials symbolizing death and rebirth, mirroring Osiris's experiences. These rites were believed to impart secret knowledge and bring about a spiritual transformation in the initiates. Some even speculate that the shaft's design was influenced by the stars, aligning with celestial bodies associated with Osiris and the afterlife. The shaft may have been a bridge between Earth and the heavens, representing the soul's journey after death. What's truly fascinating is how the structure of the Osiris shaft and the artifacts found within echo ancient texts like the Pyramid texts and the Book of the Dead. These texts offer a window into the Egyptian view of the afterlife, complete with references to water, boats, and the importance of sarcophagi. The shaft can be seen as a stone-bound version of these ancient scrolls, a tangible connection to the beliefs and rituals of a long-lost civilization. Buried deep within the limestone bedrock, the Osiris shaft is a 3-level labyrinth that masterfully combines practicality with a touch of the mystical. Let's explore what makes the architecture of the Osiris shaft so intriguing. The design and construction of the shaft are nothing short of remarkable, showcasing the advanced planning and building techniques of the ancient Egyptians. The precision with which they carved out these chambers from the bedrock reflects their deep understanding of the earth beneath them. The entrance to the shaft is marked by a rectangular opening that leads to a vertical drop of about 10 meters. This isn't just a hole in the ground, it's a carefully crafted vertical shaft, requiring the removal of large amounts of limestone using tools made from harder stones and metals, ropes, and wooden scaffolding. This feat of engineering is a testament to the skills of the ancient builders. The first chamber encountered is modest, devoid of decorations or treasures. Its simplicity might have been intentional, serving as a waiting room or a space for preparing for something more profound deeper within, possibly purification rites. The real intrigue begins at the second level, where another shaft descends another 20 meters. This chamber is more complex, containing 6 empty burial shafts that have sparked much speculation. Were they looted, or were they always meant to be symbolic? These shafts could have been used for actual burials, or perhaps represented the journey to the afterlife. The third level is the most dramatic. Descending yet another shaft, now 30 meters below the surface, you find a large stone sarcophagus at the chamber's center. This chamber, partially filled with water from the natural aquifer, isn't just a burial place. It symbolizes Osiris's tomb, tying into themes of rebirth and purification in Egyptian mythology. Graham Hancock is a name that often sparks lively discussions about ancient civilizations. Known for his books like Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods, Hancock's theories often challenge mainstream archaeological narratives. Let's consider how Hancock's unconventional ideas might offer new insights into the mysterious Osiris shaft.
I think there's a lot more remains to be discovered under the Giza Plateau.
Yeah.
Hancock's theories often revolve around the idea of a lost advanced civilization, one that predates known history and possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and mathematics.
I believe that it's worth considering the possibility of a remote common ancestor, which passed down key information that was inherited by later cultures.
Hancock might suggest that the Osiris shaft, with its intricate design and possible astronomical alignments, serves as a time capsule from this sophisticated society. Could this ancient marvel be older than we think, or was it built with knowledge handed down from this enigmatic civilization? Hancock is also fascinated by how ancient structures align with the stars. While he hasn't specifically identified the Osiris shaft in his star maps, it's easy to imagine it fitting into his broader theories. Could the shaft's orientation indicate a connection to celestial events or constellations associated with Osiris and themes of death and rebirth?
That is who Osiris is. His image is seen in the sky as the constellation of Orion.
Hancock's work suggests that many of Egypt's ancient monuments are part of a larger cosmic blueprint, with the Osiris shaft possibly being another piece of that puzzle. One of the more dramatic aspects of Hancock's theories involves global cataclysms, particularly those caused by comet impacts during the Younger Dryas period, around 12,800 to 11,600 years ago. He proposes that these catastrophic events might have wiped out the advanced civilization he theorizes about. When we look at the water in the lower levels of the Osiris shaft, Hancock might see it as more than just groundwater seepage. He could interpret it as a symbol of the world-altering floods his hypothesized civilization endured. Do you believe in the possibility of multiple ancient cataclysms?